All right, I'm going to slowly get started. 25 cents. I'm a tail twister in my local Lions Club. The tail twister has the second most power of anybody in the club. He can tell people to shut up, and he can tell people to give him some money. If anybody doesn't have, if they have their cell phone on and it goes off, you owe 25 cents to the cup. So be sure your cell phone's off. Are you getting me? You're not the Discovery Channel, so I can talk to you. Okay, we're good. All right, I sweat like a pig. I got to go back to the... If I had hair, maybe it'd absorb some of it.
You had a lot of practice working for the government.
Well, that was just on the basis of being laid off, yeah. Well, believe me, there's a bunch of young kids sweating being laid off in there. You know, they thought they had it made, and I don't know that they do or not. I'm sorry for them. I go out and apologize. I go back out to where I work and do a few things. They have a deer hunt and they have a check station. Well, they run it for 8 hours. And then old Craig goes out there and he comes up and he goes to the check station and there'll be a volunteer person and old Craig, and they all go home. I said, well, you know how to do it. You did it for 25 years. We're going home. And so I stand out there and check all the hunters out. And so I kid around with them once in a while. And I said, yeah, I got me a deer last night. That guy came in with an illegal buck, and so I just told him I had to confiscate it. And I just took it home. All hail the king. Hey, that was appropriate. All hail the king. The king's dead. But not really. Only in my mind. Notice that everything that is on the ground is a 300. That's the way I feel around you guys. Here I am, all the peons. And you guys are all the big 110s. All right, this is about photography. Photography, art or tool. Is anybody a professional photographer in here? You're a professional photographer? Okay. I'm not going to talk about you. It's everybody else that's a professional photographer I'm going to talk about. Does anybody put pictures on blade forums? If I have one of your pictures in here and I criticize it, I apologize now. All right. Well, if you cuss, then it'll be a quarter, okay? Knife photography, art or tool. I'm going to tell you today, I'm going to show you stuff, but it's going to also be a talk about why you're taking knife pictures. This is about photography of knife pictures. It's not about your kids. It's not about the Grand Canyon. You know, it's not about anything like that. It's about knives. If I can get it to work.
Everybody else had it pointed at the...
There we go. I have to hold my hand up. All right. Art is art. How's that for being sophisticated, Miss Librarian? Art is art. You know, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a professional photographer? Or do you want to take pictures of knives? You can take pictures of knives without being a professional photographer. You can take good pictures of knives. All you got to do is say, I'm going to take good pictures and I'm going to go through the steps. You can take good pictures with the camera you got in your pocket right now. You just got to do some little tweaks. You got to decide that though. If you think you want to take knives and have them on the front of magazine covers, then it's going to be different than if you take pictures for your own use. I call it almost art. Almost art. You can take almost art. You can do it. I believe in you. I know you can. If your goal is more than that, It's going to take more. If I can get the buttons right. Oop. Okay, these prices. These prices look about right. Canon EO1, $2,036.04. 4 cents. Canon EF24105. That's a pretty good one, isn't it? It's a good one. $749. How many stinking 505s from the custom shop can we buy for that amount of money? I mean, probably what? One for every 2 weeks. You know, you wouldn't have to just carry the same knife. So you got to decide. And nothing against, where is she? I know you're in here. I can't see you. There you are. Nothing against your camera. That's okay. That's what you want. And you're taking telephoto pictures, and that's great.
Grandkids.
Yep, taking grandkids pictures. But you could take good grandkids pictures with a little camera if you just do it right. All right. A.G. Russell catalog photos, high dollar equipment. Do you want to take these photos? Is this the kind of photo you want to take? You can do it with lesser money. These are professionally taken. You know what? What the heck is that? That's a reflection from his light box. Same right here. It's the edge of the light box. Professional? No. You know, you can not have that mistake yourself and take just as good a picture. All right, somebody is against me. You know, I can already feel it. I feel it in my head. You're saying, no, I want to take the best possible picture I can, so I'm getting the best equipment I can afford. Well, okay, I'd like a big old Humvee. You know, but it gets, 10 miles a gallon or less? But you know what? Ford dual cab pickup, get 18 miles a gallon every day of the week. And it'll do the exact same thing that Humvee will. And probably not cost as much to repair. This applies to camera equipment, taking knife pictures. It's not expensive. I need to put one that says front, back. Is this a crappy photo? Is that a crappy photo or is that a good photo? It was taken with that camera right there, a $200 special. It only has 5 megapixels. I took it on autofocus. I used a homemade light box in my man room. I have to pay rent. I have to pay rent for my man room. And I have to keep the door closed sometimes. If I clean it up, I can open the door. I had a light box made of parchment paper from Hobby Lobby. I have a clamp-on lights and PVC frame from Lowe's. And I bought daylight 5,000 Kelvin light bulbs from Walmart. And we're going to talk more about what that means. Daylight bulbs. The bottom of the line is you get plenty of light, you do some things, you start using your camera timer, and you'll take good pictures. And then we'll talk about doing some photo editing at the end. Cardinals. They will bite the fire out of you if you catch them. Let me tell you, I've banded birds in my career, and I'm missing a bird banding tomorrow. Those things can make you cry. There are 2 cardinal rules, and you ought to cry if you don't remember them. Rule number 1, have lots of good light. Outside sunshine, 5,000 Kelvin light bulbs, or professional, use a flash. Rule number 2, hold the dadgum camera steady. Try not to use your hands. Professionals use a flash system that's real expensive, and they can do a little bit of handhold. Sharp by Coop, that guy that's on the Blade forums and takes professional pictures, beautiful, beautiful knife photos. He handholds. But he's probably got $3,000 in flashes that he's using. You don't have to spend that much, and you can take just as good a photo. Hold the darn camera steady. We're going to come back to these rules. Remember them. Common sense camera equipment. What you have is fine. It's fine. If you get ready to buy a new camera, I'm going to go through some stuff to show you things that'll be good. Here's a code word we got to talk about so you understand what's going on. The pixel, or in the way they describe it on camera, the megapixel. That little bitty camera right there has 8 megapixels. That little camera has 5 megapixels. Brian, what's yours new one's got? 20? 24 megapixels. And it's a small pocket camera. So you're probably going to have something that's higher than what I'm using, and you will be able to take good pictures and blow them up to the size of whatever you want. But blowing up isn't the only reason you do that. There's a thing called cropping. Isn't that right, Miss Professional? Cropping. And when you crop, you take a big picture or a piece of a picture and you cut around it and you blow that up. And that is like what? The tang of a knife. You want to blow that tang up? If you've got a 5 megapixel camera versus a 24 megapixel camera, that image is fuzzier. So think about that if you're getting ready to buy a new camera. What's a pixel? A pixel is the sensor on the screen inside the camera. And this screen has these little bitty dots in there that are the pixels. And that screen isn't that big inside that camera. You'd be amazed how small it is. Here I've tried to represent it. Here's a 5 megapixel. Here's Brian's 24 megapixel. The next scene is even better. Whoops, went too far. This is the way it is in a big pixeled camera versus a little pixel camera. You got space around your pixels. They've jammed them together. They've learned how to do it better in the electronics world, and they've got your pixels jammed together. The screen's about the same size in there, but your little dots are smaller, so it makes a finer picture. All right. New camera. That one I use in my pocket for when the flying saucer comes in and starts to land right beside me, and I'm going to get on the front of the Globe newspaper and make $5,000 for the shot. All the rest of the time, it's for taking pictures of, a dog licking a cat, something like that. Same way this one, right here. It doesn't have a flash attachment, but it's got a beautiful lens. The lens is very, very crisp. And I just, I sometimes use it just because I like it. But here's my new camera, and it's got an adapter. Here's this little camera right here, which I've taken all these photos on the wall with, and it's got an adapter. Now, I don't know what that thing is. That's something you carry in your pocket. The other thing you need to learn, hold the darn camera steady. And in your camera, in the menu, in almost every camera, yours has it, doesn't it, Brian? Yeah. And it'll have a place that's called the shutter control, the remote timer, the timer. It's got some name. And what you do is you turn it on, and then when you press the button, it gives you 10 seconds or 2 seconds. What's yours? Is it
I think it's about 10.
about 10 or 8? That's about normal. 10 seconds or 2 seconds. Okay? What this does, it takes your finger off the camera. Because what that finger's doing, even though it looks like it's steady, when my heart beats, if I get real close and watch it, when my heart beats, it's moving. So you're putting that movement on the camera. Tripod. Remember tripod. Light. Here we go. We're going to talk about what light is. Y'all just thought light was light, but it's not. These lights are different colored than sunlight versus different colored than daylight light bulbs. The name for light is Kelvin. Kelvin, and it's a way you measure, it's actually a temperature. They call it a temperature, but it's the way you measure light, what it is. And if anybody's a light bulb scientist in here, you know, you can stand up and talk about it. But what you can buy at Walmart, shouldn't have said that word, Walmart, you can get a 5,000 Kelvin bulb or a daylight bulb, and it is very close to sunlight, very close to sunlight. And we're going to show you how you can use those on down the line here. You can also go to a ordering site that begins with an A or an E, and you can find 5,000 bulbs. You know, at Walmart you're going to find them like 65 watt, something like that. You can find 250 watts. I don't know if it shows in my light box I'm going to show you in a minute, but I got one that sticks out about that far. I mean, it's a monster, and you can't get too much light. You can't. We're going to correct glare if you do, but you can't get too much light. So let's go to flashes. Electronic flash is the correct color also. This is the cheapest thing I found on eBay. It's $120. The flashes are probably not pro quality at all. Flashes are like cameras, right? The better ones, you want them. Yeah. So electronic lighting also takes a little bit to learn. If you think I'm speaking wrong, just jump up and slap me in the face. It takes some time to learn, because what you're doing is you're taking a flash photo of something that you're not seeing the flash yet. And so you arrange it on your little place that you're taking the photo. You have your knife there, you take the photo, and then you look at it on the back of the camera and goes, that's not what I wanted. You know, there's glare, there's flash, there's reflections. And so electronic flash is a professional level thing. You can learn to do it if you want to, but it's going to take some time. And you'll have to learn to be able to place your knife in the scene and in the position to where you're not getting glare and reflection, and then use the flash to make the lighting like you want it. I gave up. I bought some stuff, but I've given up. I bought this. These are called slave units. Slave units. And then I have a flash on my little camera there. These slave units flash when your main flash flashes. And so you could have, if you've ever seen the pictures of like Carlsbad Caverns, where they have a guy standing down there and then a guy standing way down there, that's what they're holding. They're holding a slave. They're actually using big giant bulbs, but they're holding a slave unit, and when that home flash on the camera flashes, it causes these slave units to go ahead and fire. You know, it's so fast that the camera can't beat it, and neither can your eye, and you think everything's going off at once. But that's what they are, slave units. It's a cheap way to have electronic flash. Electronic flashes are good because they're easier to store. You take up less table space if you're living in a one-room apartment, and it's a lot, or it's a lot cooler than having about 5 or 6 bulbs going off at once. I mean, lamps on at once. Does anybody have any experience with flash they'd like to add? Okay, light boxes. This is a light box. That's a light box. You can buy them. That can cost $32. I have one. That's how I started. It has a white cloth side and top in a hard base on the bottom. And as you can see, the cloth goes up, and you want it to hang down and then curve where you don't have a line behind your camera, behind your knife. Here's one that uses fluorescent bulbs that are long ones, and it has a light on the bottom if you want it, and then it has a light on the top, and it's the correct color, and you can buy that one off an auction site also. Here's old Craig's homemade rig. Got my PVC pipes from Lowe's. Got my clamp on lights from Walmart. Got some parchment paper sides. I took welding rods and I bent them in a square, and then I soldered them together. You could glue them together with epoxy. And then I put a piece of parchment paper on the table, and under the threat of death of getting anything on the table, I put the little edges over and glued them over the welding rods and made little flats of paper. This is just white cloth on another rod for the front. Here's my camera, and I've got a piece of cardboard with a hole in it stuck over the lens to reduce the camera's reflection where you can't see it. I've gotten better to where I don't use that so much. This is how you get the pictures with no reflection in the bolsters and no reflections in the blades. You get them in your light box with all your white all around them. You position them by looking through your camera viewfinder or on the screen, and then you get a detailed eye and you watch for reflection and glare. And that, my friends, is how you can take a good picture with a little camera. The what? Oh, my wife. Okay, to prove it, look at this plastic tub. I cut a hole in the top. I took 2 bars of soaps, 2 little pieces of wood. I put my little flying saucer camera on top of it, turned the timer on. I put this was not one of her lamps. This is a garage sale lamp. It was not one of her lamps. I would not have done that. But maybe if she wasn't home. And then here's a lamp I clamped onto something. You can see the big bulb sticking out of it. And there's the photo. Would some of you like to be able to take that photo? Look what I made it with. Garbage. Inside that box right there is a piece of cardboard I cut off some box, and I wrapped aluminum foil around it. That's a reflector to give me more light down here around the shadowy edges of the knife. A reflector. Secret number 2. Oop, I'm going backwards. Sunlight. John Denver, sunshine on my shoulders. There's probably young people who don't know who John Denver is. Duct tape. You didn't think I was going to get away without showing a picture of duct tape, did you? Dowel rod. Hefty, hefty, hefty. Trash bag. Martian camera. Sunlight. Outside. Why do we need all that rig if we're going to be outside, huh? To take that photo. You see any glare?
Nope.
You see any glare? You know, reflections a minimum. No sunshine glare on any of the blades. Look at the shadows. They're gone. Where I had something maybe reflecting. I think I used a piece of cardboard and aluminum foil on this one too. You can take that picture. I took it with my Martian camera. See? Wrong way again. All right, out in the open pictures. Can you tell I live near Kansas? This is the famous area in central Kansas where it is now becoming the home of the turbine for the big wind turbines. But this is the rock post country, and they have rock posts. Their rock quarry would break out a rock that was about 8 or 10 inches a foot square and about 8 or 10 feet long. And I mean, it makes a 500-year post. And it's called the rock post country. The trick, for doing daylight is to still use a tripod. But here's the trick. That's called F22. For your automatics, you put them on aperture setting, A, on your dial. And you set your aperture at F22. Who cares what the speed is? We don't care if it's 1/30th of a second, because you're going to have it on a tripod. Here's a mistake. I didn't turn the knife just properly to get the good sun on it. And it should have been turned just a hair to where you could see the knife better. That's a mistake on my part. This one, maybe I could have got a little closer to it, you know, but I was trying for the rock post thing, and here I was trying to show the desolation. And you know what? There's not a dadgum pheasant in that field. I never saw one. Aha! What are the cardinal rules? Steady. Light and steady. You get all the light you can because you want a high f-stop. You're taking pictures of knives. You're not taking pictures of kids. You don't have to get what you can get. A kid picture, you're in a room somewhere or whatever. You know, you have it on automatic. You just take what you can take. If you use a tripod or a monopod, you'll still do better. But in a knife photography situation, F22, F24, F18, never F4. No, bad. You get a bigger depth of field. Depth of field. That's not how deep the corn's planted. It's a thing I'm going to talk about in just a second. All right, hold the dadgum camera steady. That way you can use a slow shutter speed that will give you a big f-stop. Slow shutter speed, big f-stop. Little f-stop, yeah, you get a big fast shutter speed, but you don't have the depth of field. We're going to see what depth of field is. Aha! I'm not an artist. Anyway, here is the combination of how it works. F4, F22. The lens opening at an F4 is big. Lots of lights going back to the sensor. And in low light situations, that's what the camera's doing. It's opening the lens up, trying to suck light into it. But you know what? You're going to artificially manipulate the light, either by being in the sunlight or by having light bulbs or flashes. F4, you only get an area of sharpness about that wide. Okay? F22, you get one like 5 knives wide, but you have a little bitty opening, but you have a big depth of field. It's just the way it works. I'm not an optical engineer. I'm not going to explain it any more than that. I'm just tell you that little depth of field, small area of sharpness, F4. F22, big area of sharpness. Shutter speed. It's how fast the camera blinks. When your camera blinks fast, if you've got a lot of light, you know, it'll blink fast. But you know what? Who cares how fast it's going to blink? You're taking a knife photo with a tripod. I use F22 at 1/15th of a second. I mean, you push the timer and step back, the camera's ticking it off, and then click. You know, there isn't any click. It's click as the lens closes. But I'm not touching it. You know, everything is rock solid. Look at this one. I vibrated. What that is, I thought I had the timer set, and I didn't. And I reached up and I pushed the button, and it took that picture. Does that look like your pictures? That's vibration. It's not out of focus. It's not out of focus. It's vibration. Tripod. If you're going to take some pictures of wildlife and stuff, you got to have a lot of light so that you can have 1,000 or 2,000, you know, to stop birds from moving their wings and doing stuff like that. I'm not saying you don't don't ever use that. But we're talking about knife photos. Knife photos. You get a fast shutter speed with lots of light, like Mr. Bald Eagle here, probably taken in Alaska by Ron. Want to give him credit. That's the law, since I stole the photo. Big f-stop with lots of light. Oops, sorry. Tripod, remote timer. Or some cameras come with a little button that you can have in your hand and you go click. My new camera has that. Yee-hee! I don't have to set that timer. But if you don't have it, that's fine. Your little camera with a timer will work great. I've been using it for 10 years. I like to have a ruler sometimes in my photos, show size relationships, since I have little knives. You guys with 110s, you don't have to do that. The depth of field. You know, here it is what? Looks like about, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 6, 7 inches that I got to have in focus. I have to have a big depth of field. So I have to shoot an f/22. But I'm shooting a little bitty hole in my lens. I have to have a really slow shutter speed. So that's the relationship. You know, I have mine set on aperture priority, which means it gives me the f-stop I set, which I set a really high one, which is a little tiny hole. And I don't care what the speed is because Mr. Tripod is taking care of me. And Mr. Remote Timer or hand timer. Sometimes I do use automatic mode. And in bright daylight, you can do that. Like all those pictures of the rock tripod and all that, those were all automatic mode, I'm sure. Force flash mode, you can use that for some things, and maybe I'll talk about that in a minute. Oop. I'm hitting the right button, I know I am. Aha! Another professional word, macro. Macro, small. Macro lens. Also, your camera have a macro setting. Brian, yours has one, doesn't it? Yep. Macro setting manipulates your lens in your camera's lens system to allow you to close focus. So you can get Chuck's name blown real big. You can see the grind marks in the blade. Macro setting or macro lens. If you get ready to buy a camera, be sure it has that so that you can get the fancy big blown up picture. That's not blown up picture. I did not blow this up. That's the way the picture is in the camera. Other than I cut the bottom off. Okay, some more camera info. You know, on your memory in your camera, you've got a little disc that's in there. Well, in the old days, right there, 256 megabytes, woohoo, that was a big disc, 10 years ago. But as time marches on, things get big fast, things happen fast. Here we are up to 8 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes. Now, don't cheap out. You're standing there at Walmart and you're looking at the shelf, and here's the 32 gigabyte, and it's about $1 a gigabyte. And you're over here and you're looking at the 8 gigabyte, and it's about $25. Don't cheap out. Buy the 32. Buy the 64. Get memory where you never run out of memory. I can get, in that little camera, I'll get 356 photos from a big card. I don't ever think about it. I'm not going to take 356 photos while I'm here. If I do, I've got another card. I've got the cheap card for backup. Number 2 is I have lost photos from computer failure. By golly, I don't want any of you people to ever do that from this day forward. Several blade shows are gone because my computer croaked. These are thumb drives. Thumb drives are coming in huge gigabytes. Okay, who's the techie that knows? What's the biggest thumb drive you can get? Big gigabytes. I mean, it's big gigabyte. You can put your photos on these little old thumb drives and label them. And every time you take some photos and get them on your camera, get everything situated, got it all like you want, back it up from your
Is it bigger than 64 now?
gigabyte
Yeah.
or megabyte.
Gigabyte.
Yeah, gigabyte.
It's about
64 gigabyte. That's big.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet you, what do you think? Several hundred photos or more, or thousands.
Thousands.
Thousands, yeah. This is a backup. This is a backup. This is a backup. Don't trust the stinking computer. That is a device that works in the clouds. It does not work on the land. Paper. Remember paper from the record keeping. That's what you want. Well, this is close to paper. I bought the $150 backup device after I lost that stuff. You know, we're never going to get those back. External flashes. Let's talk external flashes. The bigger the better. I mean, really. But you can only, this little camera can only hold a certain size. I could got a bigger one on it, but it would look kind of like, you know, a semi pulling a Volkswagen. And so this flash took this picture. Here's Mr. Jimmy with his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 tables worth at least. And I did get a little light in his face. And so that was good enough for the little camera. But I guarantee you, I wished I would have taken one with just my flash. And you'd have seen about to here, and the rest of it would have been dark. So think about a big flash. That's why I want you to have an external shoe if you buy a new camera. So you can put a pretty hefty flash. I'm taking pictures from back in the corner with my flash, and I'm barely getting them bright enough up here, you know, of the speaker. And so that's, if you took it with your little pocket camera from back there, it'd just be a shadow, somebody in a shadow living up here. So I took this picture at the Blade Show, and it's not the perfect picture. I took it with a flash, and I had a reflection in here, which I didn't like. And I didn't have my trick stuff with me, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But they asked me to take that picture. I don't remember what for, but I didn't do a very good job. Camera phones. All right, for you that came in late, I was explaining my Gorilla Pods up here. These little rubber tripods. Here's the phone, the one for the phone. Just like they're in the picture. And then these are eBay. You can buy them. It's a clamp. Clamp your phone on. Here, let's see. Turn it on. It's on. I hit camera. It comes up. I put it like here. Let's do the Broadway. I'll do it this way. Got it. Here, let's get y'all level. We're level. Ta-da! You're taken. It might be. iPhones are okay for taking kids at the park. The Martians landing beside the car. You know, stuff like that, that's okay. But if you want to take nice knife pictures, you need to use a camera. I took that picture with the iPhone. Tricks of the trade. I should have taken this differently. I'm sorry. It's a bad picture, but I'm showing you some tricks of the trade. See this blue stuff? This is the biggest trick in here. This blue stuff or this gray stuff. That's called kneadable eraser. Who's the teacher in the room that stuck posters up on the wall with this blue stuff, this putty? There you go. Isn't it sticky? How sticky it is? Folks, that's how you turn your knife up at an angle to keep the reflection off or the glare off. Behind that knife, there are little balls of gray putty or blue putty. And that's what gets you by looking at your scene with your light. You build your knife to the certain angle to reflect the white stuff around your light box, and not your camera, and not the walls, and not the ceiling fan. There's all kinds of light boxes. You can go to Blade Forums, go to the photography section and look that up. And you'll have, there's a dozen guys that have got on there with their light box. It's the best one ever made. You know, build your own. Who cares? Here's my light box. You're in it. You're in my light box. Here's a cardboard that I've got with feet on the back of it, and I use it to reflect light down into the scene. There's there's mirrors. I took cheap Home Depot mirrors and the tiles that you can stick. Why people stick them on their bathroom walls, I don't know. But you know, I always get out of the tub and go, oh God, you know, is that me? But I even cut them. I used a glass cutter and cut them. I got a glass cutter, and I just cut them. You can take them somewhere and have them cut. Glued them on more cardboard with little feet, and I have back here, looking this way, are mirrors that are reflecting light from up here, up underneath the knife, into the shadowy areas. So I use mirrors. I use white cardboard for reflectors. I use kneadable putties and the blue stuff. Here's some erasers. I sometimes will take those erasers and cut them at angles. You can see little pieces of one right here where I've cut them at angles, and it'll hold a big knife up if it's at the right. And I have all different little cuts that I have. I have like a little tackle tray, and I have all this stuff in this tackle tray beside my light box. Here's a piece of putty in action. Look at it holding up that 119. See how it does it? That's how you do it. You don't want to see it under the knife. So you put it somewhere, like right here, where you can't see it under the knife. You wouldn't put it over here because you'd be able to see the putty sticking out from underneath it. And that stuff's sticky. Now, it will dry out if you leave it out. I also use stuff to hold up knives, like this rock. I collect rocks as I walk around. I like weird rocks. I find rocks with faces on them. See this one? There's two eyes, and he's going, ooh. And here's one. Here's his mouth's further down. Ooh. So I collect those, and my wife has a whole kitchen window filled with them. But I use those for decoration. But here's a rock that looks like half of a seashell, like that. And I use it to prop up knives sometimes. I have in the past. Here's elk and deer antlers with a groove cut in it. Here is some clear PVC tubing that I put an American flag in and poured clear epoxy into, and then ground a groove in the top, and see the knife setting in it. I use deer antlers. I use some pieces of driftwood that I've got a tool bench under. I should have shown this. I've got a Craftsman tool bench under my light box, and all the drawers under there are full of junk, which are like this stuff: turkey feathers, brown leaves smashed under newspaper and dried, stuff I find, pieces of the gill plate off an alligator gar, a turkey leg right here. The knife's covering it, but the spurs, the bony spurs sticking up, deer antlers, you know, just all kinds of stuff you can get that makes your knife scene cool. And a lot of that's art. You know, you're starting to get into the art world. See my mirror? It's reflecting this stuff. Here's my mirror right here showing you that, you know, it's putting light in there. You hunter guys would have liked it, because I have, from Tennessee, I have the tiniest little 6-point deer antler you can think of. I mean, it's like that big, a little 6-point. I would have been scared it had been a doe. I mean, if I'd... Backgrounds. Here is a kind of underneath this leaf in that fossil, it's a kind of a brushed stuff for a background. It goes back and curves up. It does not have a sharp line so that you would see it in your picture. I've got green material here. I just bought that. And I go to the remnants like at Hancock Fabrics or somewhere, fabric store, go to the remnant section, go back there and find you a little bitty piece. Don't pay $10. Just get you a little piece big enough for your light box. And that's I kind of like that green, kind of. And so I'm going to try some with that. Here's a shotgun shell, an old Imperial 12 gauge high brass paper hull. And I use that, see, as a prop also. Here's those. Is there anybody in the room that sells these reprints? Well, I've bought two just because they had 300s on them. But man, you don't get very much for the money. You know, I don't know where they're reprinting them from, but maybe we could find them somewhere and y'all could do them cheap, you know, for nothing off the computer. But, you know, put one of those in there with your knife if it's special. You know, I've got the Stockman one. There's two Stockmans. There's a cowboy cutting something with a Stockman, and then this one right there, and that's the two I've got. And those are backgrounds. And then here is from Hobby Lobby, and I've used this one several times. I like it. There are pieces of paper back in the area back there that people use for, I don't know, paper things. That's it. Paper stuff. Lady paper stuff. And guy. Anyway, it's raindrops on glass. And it's really cool when you put a knife on it and then take a real close picture of it. Big tip right there. Big tip. Big tip. I'm going to say it 3 times. Cardinal rules. Amen. We're almost done. A sigh of relief was heard from the room. There we go. Cool. I'm not really going into this real heavy. We'll talk about it. For camera editing, it's not that hard if you want to take a photo, pull it up, put it on like one of these places. I use Adobe Photoshop, Elements 9. It's probably, what do you got, Brian? About 55 now. It's gone way up, isn't it? You got something real big, bigger than that? Anyway, it's bigger than 9. 9's cheap. You know, I think I paid $40 for it. And you go in there, you crop. I didn't want to go into, I mean, I could spend a whole hour just doing this photo thing. You crop, you know, it makes the part of the, you cut out the edges of the scene. If you take a photo and you've got junk over here, whatever you don't want on it, you crop it and cut it out and blow it up a little bit. You can go in and take, if you're really good, you can take a goat that's standing on a stump and you can put your buddy's face on it and email it. You can take your buddy that went to Colorado and hiked about 12 miles up to an alpine lake and caught a cutthroat about that long, and he's holding it up for the camera, and you can put a grizzly bear behind him, you know, getting ready to get him. If you work at it, you can get that good. But you can take some spots off. If you take your picture and you look right there and you go, dadgummit, you know, there's a piece of lint right there. Well, I go in there and put the little arrow from the little photo place on there, and I go click over here in another place, and then I move it over there on the lint and rub, and put, lint's gone. And you can do that, and I do it, and I admit it, and I don't want to seek help. I would rather learn how to do it better. And I take some of my mistakes out using a photo program. I don't do it real heavy. You can, if you get one and you start playing with it, you'll go too far. And you'll go, why did I go this far? How do I back out? Well, just delete it and just go back. You don't ever use your original. You save it, and then you make a copy, and then you play with it on the deal. Also, if you're on Blade Forums and we're doing photo stuff, I use Photo Bucket and bring the photo from Photo Bucket and put it on Blade Forums. It's free. There's other ones. There's a bunch of them. Some Microsoft, some Yahoo. There's places to do it. But that way I use that. And then, like, y'all can go to $300 if you want to go to Photo Bucket and see my photos, and I'll have some hunting and fishing photos on there. You can go to photobucket.com, click on $300, $300, and that's all my stuff that I've put on blade forms and sent to people and things like that. And it's just real easy to do. It's just easy, and that's why I do it. I don't have to figure out how to get the photo over there. Composition. Composition is kind of like where I was talking about using the little doohickeys, you know, to boost up your scenes. You know, I've got a log over, a little stick over there, and I've got the knives on a little stump, piece of walnut that I slabbed off an old walnut trunk. You know, stuff like that, little doohickeys. These are blade forum photos. If your photo's in here, I'm sorry if I criticize it. Not bad photos. This is from the Blade Forum Sunday deal. Okay, art. Art's art, but art. Anybody got any complaints about this photo? It's dark. See how dark it is? It's also too busy. It's very busy. I mean, if you'd have just put it on the needles up here, or just had black, you know, with a couple of the deer antler or something, and then got light all the way on your handle, it'd have been fine. No problem. Not bad, eh? Not bad. Maybe just a little bit of light. A little more light, maybe. Just a touch. Right. But a light would do that. Some light would do that. So not bad. Dark. Dark. Well, at least, I mean, you know, sometimes you just want to show the knife. And so that would, and yeah, it is boring, but you got to have light. You know, you can at least see the knife, and you can talk about them. And if we're on a knife forum, you know, it's not, we're not trying to get on Blade Magazine. We're just trying to show knives. Bad background. Black handle, white background. You know, contrast. Lights, I guarantee you, $100 bill. That's the living room window. And it's on the carpet in front of the living room window. And it looks like it's on a cloudy day. Or over 100, absolutely. Hot day. Not bad. Move it over in front of this piece of wood. Try to cut out the trampoline in the background. You know, maybe just do one knife. Maybe get some of that sticky stuff and get your picture off the bolster. Taking the picture.
And don't use a Chinese buck.
Yeah, well, you know, that may be the person who collects those. Do you collect those? The canoes. Remember the guy? Somebody collects just canoes. I don't remember who that is. Is it? Okay, he collects those. But anyway, you know, you don't want your picture on there that everybody knows now you collect them. But anyway, maybe just one knife at a time there. Or maybe use that blue sticky stuff and stick one up above the other one, or do something. You know, there's different ways of doing it. Too much black. You know, black box, black background. If you'd have boosted, if you'd have had a piece of mirror in front here where it whited out or a piece of aluminum foil or something to white out the bolsters and then pop light in there, you know, that would have been not so bad. But we're thinking art a little bit here. Pretty decent. Not bad. Pretty decent. I would have liked to have seen a little more light on this Damascus so that I could have seen it really good, you know, the grain in it. And then I would like Mr. Reflection to go away. Looks like their house. It looks like it's their house. They're sitting outside on their deck, maybe. Same deal here. Different knife, but same deal. This is Armand's from San Diego, and his 422s. Not bad. His is always about like this. Pretty decent. You know, I would boost that with a little bit of light. Just a little bit more. It would have made it a little sharper. The camera would have appreciated it more to have a little bit of light. Okay, a couple of my bad ones. I'm willing to admit it. Okay, here I have a Wix, you know, and so I was trying to do the oil and the auto deal, you know, but I have this Wix air filter cardboard. That's too much. You know, I should have just had the Wix knife, and if I could have had like a Wix oil filter there, and then the oil filter wrench, that would have been plenty. There's too much. It's no good. I got a teeny bit of reflection right there, but not bad. If you have just that, that's not bad. But it could have even done that. Sorry, Mr. Turkey, you had to die. But you tasted good. It wasn't a really big beard either. Yeah, I thought it was bigger when I shot it. Not enough light. I'm sitting on a Kansas dirt road on a bridge so that we could throw our turkey guts over the side and nobody'd see them. And the knife is in real deep shade. And I was using one of these little pod things on the tailgate, stuck down in the hole, kind of pointing down on the tailgate of the pickup, and there's not enough light. I didn't do right. Too little light. It's sharp. I mean, you can see the hairs in the turkey where I didn't touch the camera, but there was still not enough light. Too busy, too much stuff, too busy. The knife's not bad, you know, the reflections aren't bad. If you get something like this, that's fine. As long as that's almost not good enough. But it's okay if y'all get some of that, and you can do better over time. And as long as it smooths out, that it's not a direct reflection of you or, you know, your schnauzer right there looking at it, something. But it's too busy. There's too much there. For you gun nuts, that's a 1958. I mean, that's a Model 58 from the 1970s. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Talk about this. Let me show you. I'll get it out of the way right now. Record keeping. Record keeping. Look at that. A buck record keeping book. You can put a photo or two in the top. You can write all your records at the bottom, and it's about 50 pages. Look at that. Who is the professional printer of the group here. He is going to take, he thinks he has some, but he's going to take this one as he goes back home to California, and he is going to see how much it might cost to do that. And then we may have, let's say, BCCI Collectors Club record book. And inside we could have the date codes for, you know, all the date codes. We can maybe even print 110 dates with a brief thing. You know, here we got a whole back page too. There's no telling what we could do with that. And so,
You could maybe put more pages in it.
maybe could put more pages in it. Or you could buy multiple books too. You could. And so, this is in process, folks. But don't not start recording things, waiting for these books, because, you know, I worked for the government. I never waited for nothing because, you know, it may not happen. I also have up here at the front, and I haven't started yet. I'm just entertaining you. The annual Knife Club questionnaire survey. This is for you to put your opinion down on the sheet of paper for what you would like to see in a club knife, rather than just us come and make it up. We're listening to you. What do you want? Put it down here. Cheaper, fancier, bigger, littler, whatever you want. You can write it down here under your comments. They will be up here on the corner of the table when y'all get ready to go out. Okay. Well, if you want good photos, It's good enough for grandkids in the spur of the moment. It's good enough for knife show stuff, but don't rely on that to take all your photos. There's so much, you know, you can do so much to it. All right, this is called a GorillaPod. You can buy them at Cabela's. You can order them from eBay, I think, for $7. GorillaPod. They even have, you can even buy the little tops, if I can get it off. The little top comes off, and there it went, and you can get multiples of those to change it around to different cameras. You can use it, and you can put it on like this door handle and wrap it around, a tree limb, you know, whatever you want, whatever you got handy, a pipe, on a handrail by the falls, or whatever you got. But here's the secret. Here's the secret. Man, that's an expensive item, isn't it? What can you buy those for, Mr. Donahue? What, 10 cents in bulk, 25 cents, 50 cents, paper clip? Ta-da! You have an iPhone tripod. You can get it set right. You can always take a better picture if it's sitting still. If you're holding it, you just reach up there and you just touch the little button. See how it vibrated after I touched it? If you're not even going to put it on a tripod, look what you got. A handhold. It's better than holding it this way, holding it that way. You got something you can grab onto. It's called a GorillaPod. You can also, I'll show you the pictures in my program. You can buy other devices that hold a camera on a tripod on eBay for cheap. It's a plastic thing and the camera slides in this way. And then you can screw it to a tripod, or it even comes with a little tripod. But this is a GorillaPod, and it's good on the basis that you can take it anywhere. This one is a GorillaPod too, and it has super magnets in the end. I don't have anything that's metal. I can't stick it to anything. The door frame, you think it's steel or aluminum? Nope, it'll stick. You get it down where there's two legs, get your camera positioned. You want by if you want to. Let me do the other way. There we go. I had it wrong. There you go. How handy could that be? But it has a big negative feature, a big one. You have to be careful.
Oh, yeah, demagnetize your credit cards and your,
I can't get Mike in my room now. So this doesn't go in your pocket with your billfold. It doesn't go beside your camera where you can rub it like that. You know, let's don't mess with your memory card. And so, but it is handy. If you'll just keep it away from the magnetic things, you'll be all right. It's got a little old handle on it. It's really a video tripod is what they call it. But I like it better than this one because it's got that little handle on it. This is less than $10. You can get the total thing. GorillaPod. GorillaPod. Go on Amazon, go on eBay, they're on there. Go to the store. Cabela's has them over there. I saw them the other day. We're proud of Oklahoma. It's one of the biggest places in the country where you can have both chiggers, ticks, and poison ivy on you all at the same time. There's not many places in the country you can get that.